Oh, wow, we got a whopper of a question to start you off with.
Could we just down that one question?
This guy's prepared.
I like it.
Steven, I know this guy. He's one of my long-term customers. He's a good guy.
Oh, cool.
All right, let's get started. Everybody, welcome to this webinar / Q&A session with the Facebook Wizard. So as you probably know, we have a high-end workshop coming up. So we just wanted to get on here and kind of see what questions people had and just answer some questions. And, and also to kind of to give you an idea of what kind of content that you can expect at the workshop. So our guest, the Facebook Wizard, I met him. I guess it was I don't know. I think I first met him like last year and a half.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, I think it might be going on 2 soon.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, and so my friend Ken McCarthy, he the guy that used to do the system seminar. He's like the super OG of internet marketing, and so he hit me up and said that I should meet this guy. And all of the great things he's doing on Facebook. He was doing like massive volume on Facebook with White Hat, offers. And at the time, all I was doing was Black Hat. So I was very intrigued, and we talked, and really learned a lot from each other. Hit it off. I actually ended up we did a coaching program last year, and I went up and actually met with him. I actually took his workshop myself, and it was really good stuff. He's kind of like my go-to guy now. Like if I have questions about Facebook, he's the guy that I ask, and he's the best. I mean, I've worked with a lot of really good guys on Facebook, but he's definitely the best that I've seen. So I'm really pleased to have him here to help you guys out, and hopefully at the end of the day help you make more money on Facebook. So let me introduce the Facebook Wizard.
Hey man, thanks for having me on. Facebook now is I tell you, the last 30 days have been crazy with the coronavirus. I mean, TPMs have just dropped ridiculously low. So it's kind of a field day for guys like me. But a little bit, just to give the guys a little background on how I came about. So he said White Hat. I was a Facebook. I've owned 2 Facebook ad agencies. Legit White Hat. I've been in Facebook corporate. I had the highest rep that you could possibly have. Was with completely on the fluffy whitetail bunny side for over 3 years. Didn't even know about Black Hat when I first started. So I was able to get in bed with Facebook and learn their deepest, darkest secrets that they only share with, multi-million-dollar a month agencies. And, visiting out Facebook, I had quarterly reviews with Facebook on all my accounts. So really got the down and dirty on things. And was really running things the right way, as an agency does. I mean, I was never into being a guru. It's a whole side thing on what I think about gurus. But I did meet Ken. Did get into CPA marketing. People were affiliate programs. Built funnels. Actually did red leads from the quote unquote gurus who are out there right now. I can show you some Skype messages with them saying, "Hey, I want to get in on this Facebook thing. Can you help me out?" And now they're a year later or whatever, they're gurus. So that's kind of funny. But I got into it. And then I started to build funnel, see where it is, and started doing it myself and really started cranking, using the tactics that I was able to learn on the White Hat side. Did some consulting on the Black Hat side, so I do speak Black Hat. Learned a lot on that side, and was able to combine the two. So right now, I'm able to, just learn the Facebook system, right? Like one of the things that drive me nuts is these gurus come out and they say in 30 days, I did 2,500 ROFs, right? Which, is ridiculous because they don't give you the background about how they had, a 5-year customer list or they had in-store. There's so many things we could get into about what they have. So it's useless. And then everybody buys the course and they go, "Hey man, it didn't work." And it's this one-trick pony. And so my conversation has always been with Greg. I never give a one-trick thing. I mean, I use catchy words like hack and things like that, but I want to teach guys and share the knowledge of the system so that you can read the tea leaves. So you can do it yourself, and it works and it adapts to your exact program that you're doing, and not just, hey, copy this page post ID link into the ad set, and then you can duplicate all the engagement. Just do one little thing. There's no one little thing. If there's a you can survey the landscape, and then from there you can adapt and improvise and figure out what Facebook's doing, follow the trends, and I'm really following whose Facebook has lawsuits out against right now, because you can learn a lot about where the weaknesses are by who they're going after, and figure all that out. So the guys on the other end of this can take what they're doing and have, like, something that's going wrong with them, and be able to translate it into it and have it work, as opposed to me giving you, one trick that'll work today, 30 days later it's not going to work. I mean, how many guys had their entire world blowed up in September and October when Facebook redid their algorithm and just started banning everybody? If you notice, all the gurus out there, all the ones from last year are gone. Now they're all new ones from this past couple of months, and it's like nobody's been here longer than 3 years, because they keep coming up. They have one success, and then they make a course on it, and it's like, okay, great, that's it. And then rinse and repeat, make their 10 million, and they retire. And nobody's out there really just kind of, I've been in Facebook now 5 years, just minding my own business. Never really wanted. I mean, even right now, I'm not even. If I was a guru, my face would be plastered all over this thing, and everybody would know who I am. But I don't want to be a guru. I just want to sit back and make money. So that's kind of my journey, and that's talking with Greg, and he's coaxed me along and said, hey man, we should do some clothes stuff. I got a good group of guys that want to make money. And, so, I mean, that's kind of how I want to do it. Just share the insights of like the last 5 years and repeatedly, consistently making money and, understanding what Facebook's doing and why, and then how you can adapt. So that's kind of that's where I come from, my background. So, if we want to jump into the questions and stuff, we'll just start answering whatever you guys want to know.
Okay, yeah, let's jump to the questions. Can you see the Q&A?
Yeah, hold on. Okay, let me see Q&A. All right, I see a Q&A. All right, so the first one, the question related to how to make money offers on Facebook. All right, so right off the bat, it is exploding right now with how to make money offers on Facebook. Everybody is seeing a massive uptick in that, because one of the number one things searched in Google is how to make money online. And with this whole COVID-19 thing, while you can't explicitly say COVID-19 on Facebook, because of one of the things you'll get banned for, but you can start talking about that environment, right? And how to create it, and people are just jonesing for it. So the Facebook ad site, what do you recommend? Okay, absolutely never ever use the word traffic ad type for anything. Okay, that is just an absolute waste. That's fluffy kittens from Facebook. So what you always have to talk conversions, right? Conversions or the lead form ad. The difference between traffic and conversion is traffic is Facebook will put it in there and they'll say people who are likely to click on your ad, and that's it. Click on your ad and go to your website. Not do anything while they're there. Just click on your ad and do something. So you get a lot of tire kickers, 99% of tire kickers. You get really low cost clicks. I mean, we can get 1 cent clicks easily, but you're not going to get people who are going to convert. Facebook puts when we do this, I'll show you guys. I have this like pie that I make, and I tranche all of Facebook's people and how they group everybody, and why it's so important to go after the right kind of audience, because they put like conversions are their highest, most expensive audience, and that's who they put for people who are likely to buy. So it's the most expensive. It's also the hardest to get. It translates into your relevant, your score on your business manager, on your ad account. All those things play into it. I go into a whole thing about the Facebook auction and how that all plays in, so you can understand how to manipulate it and master it, and also adjust it if you need to. But you'd want to get in that conversion bucket, because those people are going to actually do an action, right? Facebook doesn't care what conversion you name it: add to cart, view content, purchase, lead. It doesn't care. It's just going to optimize to that action. So you're always going to want to use conversions. It does get a little difficult when you do things like CPA offers, where they don't have a back end to convert. You can't put a pixel on the back end, but there are ways to get around that. And there are things we can do to where you can have it, you can manipulate it to have it on your front end page to still trigger. So there's a lot of things on that. But the short answer to that is conversions. Get people to go to your website, read something, and then make an action. That's the number one way to make money on it right now. And just don't even talk about engagement ads or traffic ads or any of that stuff. Lead form ads are solid. Lead form ads, I remember when they came out, did a lot with auto industry. I had a lot of auto dealers back in my agency days, and they loved lead form ads because you're instantly getting people's information. So you can use those. Make your own lead form. Nice thing about that is it doesn't need to go to a lander. So if you have problems with compliance on your lander, like if you're doing a financial product and you have a hard time keeping it up, a lead format is a good alternative because you don't have to go to a lander. And so that way there you eliminate that. It's tough on the CPA market because the information goes to you and not your, not the offer. So sometimes it's hard to get that in terms of a deal with them. But if it was my offer, I would do a combination of both. I would do a conversion ad to a webinar to fill out information, and then I would do a lead format as well as a follow-up. Great follow-up retargeting in that. And one of the things with that, like retargeting, I mean, people never do retargeting. They don't exclude the audience from their cold funnel. There's a lot of simple things that you can do when you start looking at Facebook and how to advertise and where the money is. One of the things that I go over in this is what do I do when I charge 25 grand to come in and look at your ad account? So people, high end, over $1 million plus generally, I'll go in there. One of the things I find is that they don't have segregated funnels. They're just kind of blanket shooting at everybody. And they're not, partitioning things with retargeting. And I go in here, I developed a 30-day retargeting that maps out by day, by ad type, by category that I use with all these guys. I think that's one of the things I'm giving on this thing just so you can have it, but to go through it. So that's a big thing with ad type too, is make sure it translates into what you're doing and it matches. What was the next thing? Do you use Facebook A/B testing? Yeah, absolutely. You have to A/B test. You have to A/B test everything. Couple of different ways to do it on Facebook. I mean, dynamic ads are awesome. If you're not using dynamic ads, you really should be. It allows you to test up to 10 multiple iterations at any one time and then look at the metrics for it. So you can start drilling in. I mean, you should never stop testing. I mean, the days of having a campaign, an ad set, and an ad with one creative are just so long gone. I mean, you need to have dozens of creatives at any time. One of the things we'll do is we'll go into an account that I manage. That's like a real estate account. You're trying to get, make money online. Actually, it's like this, make money online. And I mean, I think I have probably 30 campaigns running with over 100 ad sets with 200, 300 ads running at one time. So, I mean, that's where you want to be. And then, to get there is you got to have a strategy on how to get there, but that's kind of where you want to be. So, I mean, and a huge part of that is A/B testing. And do you use campaign? Yeah, budget. So do you use Facebook campaign budget optimization? So that's asking a question about the daily budget. So you can either do ad set level, which was all there was for a long time. Then Facebook rolled out campaign budget, which allows you to have a campaign at say $100 and then multiple ad sets inside that campaign, each one doing a different thing, and then allows it to all roll up into that one $100 budget. So yeah, I use a lot of that. Not exclusively, but a ton of it, and everybody should be, because they were supposed to eliminate ad set level budgeting this past fall. I don't know why they didn't, but I'm sure they're going to. But yeah, you should absolutely be using campaign budget optimization. It's pretty powerful when you use it. Okay, let's see. Targeting. Boy, this is a pretty comprehensive question. Targeting. What would you recommend? Okay, so targeting depends on a lot of things. Where to start. Again, with targeting, I want you to have a strategy, right? There's no silver bullet. It's all, what are you trying to do in terms of if you're taking it into cold funnel. So then who do you want to target first? You have broad, more specific. You should do a combination of two. One strategy that works well for me, I'll take a campaign budget, say $100, and then I'll break out the ad sets, and in each ad set, I'll have an individual different interest group, and then, run that out, and then it starts scaling it in different ways with everyone's winners. So there's a few things you can do there. Broad is great because broad has the lowest CPMs, but again, usually have the lowest click-through rates. So there's a lot of strategies around audience, but I like them all to be, based on a strategy and then based on metrics. You know what I mean? Like the click-through rate, the link click-through, difference between link click-through and actual click-through. All those kind of things are what we want to set it up with. So there's no real $1 million, silver bullet answer to that. It's just you just got to lay it out. So it's easier for me to just kind of lay out why we're doing what we're doing, and then from there it makes sense as to how you want to specifically do it for yourself, and then how to find hidden interest groups, how to combine interest groups, all that kind of stuff. So we would go with interest, one ad. So then what's next? Interest, one ad set, or layered. Again, tons of strategy there. A bunch of different options on how to do it. Layered is layered is one of the things I don't like about layered is like, okay, so say you're running a broad-based targeting, and you put in 5 interest groups, and each one has a tranche of 600,000 or 700,000 people, and then you start getting really good ROI on that ad set. Okay, well, which interest, when you want to scale it, like which interest group is performing better, right? Which ad is resonating with which interest group? So you're going to want to have a function to be able to split that out. And there's ways of doing it, testing wise and all that, but you're always going to want to think ahead to when you're at 3,000 a day to $10,000 a day. One of the things I go over is things that work at 300 blow up at $1,000 a day. And that's one of them, because, you start overlapping your audiences, and you start not understanding who to scale with and where to scale and all that kind of stuff. Do you want me to just keep going on this question, Greg?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll just keep going. Okay, so like I said, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's a long ass question. So, but it's actually good. Touch on some good stuff. Placement starts with everything optimized. Facebook's going to penalize you in terms of CPMs if you limit your placement, but then it's also, if you start looking at your data and you look at your breakdown and where your transactions are coming from, 99% of them are going to be mobile feed. So then it's going to be a choice between, creating your audience in a lower cost platform, or maybe retargeting is good for that. But I mean, typically when I do high end stuff, I just do mobile and desktop feed, and most of it's going to be mobile. And as you scale up, you can start splitting that out and have it be, mobile mobile. I mean, I've even done mobile iPhone, mobile Android, right? Because I mean, just if you start looking at it, start thinking about it. Who owns iPhones? Who owns Androids? Are there differences of people in economic status? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, iPhones are generally more expensive, so there's a thing there. You can go after older Android or older iPhone to maybe if you're going after older demographic. So there's all these audiences that you can start getting into depending on if they match with what your target is, and then you test it and you can start splitting it out. But if you look under your dashboard and you go to the breakdown section, that's where you can see so you say you look at an, and that's one of the things we'll go through. You look at an, your purchases are coming in, and you see you have 20 over 4 or 5 ads, or 4 or 5 campaigns. You start looking at your breakdown. You see what age group they're coming from, what state they're coming from, what country they're coming from, what platform are they coming from, which device are they coming from, what time of day are they coming from. You start looking at all that stuff, and you can start piecing it out. And that's part of one of the ways you can scale, is by splitting that out and forcing Facebook to it. Plumbers, interest, placements start with everything and optimize. Okay, ad structure, what would you recommend? Again, ad structure, there's a whole afternoon on ad structure. Actually, building the ads is really easy, right? It's not hard. It's just a matter of having a strategy behind it so that you optimize and make sure you know what you're doing, right? I tell everybody, migrate to the money. Only do it if it's making money. So don't spend all your money cold funnel if you have a great audience you can upload and you can just retarget, right? Or maybe your model, when we start looking into what you're actually running, is drive people to your traffic and then retarget them. Maybe it's not a one-click thing. I took a boutique skin thing. They sold like hair products or something, but they were spending about 30 grand when I first started them, and took them up to about 1.5 million in a course of about six or 7 months. That was when we had I remember having like a $65,000 or $75,000 Black Friday day, which was crazy, making ad sets at $10,000 spend a day. But it was all about they're finding when I went in there, I found out that they had a sales cycle, in the sense that people like to go to the website 2 or 3 times before they made a purchase. So they were having all their ads on cold funnel, and they weren't retargeting. So we kind of switched it over, and then we started running in what we found were like advertorials worked well, like things on that weren't necessarily ads for the product, but were editorials about the symptom or the solution for the product, and then highlighted the product. But we found that those got low cost clicks, so we're able to advertise those very heavily, and then retarget people with dedicated messaging through retargeting ads, and that worked really well. So that was a strategy that we came out with to figure out, who's your client, or the customer, how do they buy, are they impulse or not? I mean, some things are total impulse, right? And if that's the case, I mean, you just want to predominantly go on cold funnel and work on that way. But a lot of things are going to be sales cycle, touch points, some of those things like that. So you want to go into them and you want to understand them so that you can make a good decision and a good strategy on what you're doing, and not just blindly. Again, never just build an ad and hope it works. Like that just it doesn't. It's all about mapping out what you're doing, literally mapping it out and asking. I mean, if I start talking to you guys, I'll say, who's your customer? How do they buy? When do they buy? What do they buy? What have you tried? You know, what's your research? What are your competitors doing? How have if you research your competitors, you know what their landers look like, you know, that whole thing. We go into everything to find out. Any other secrets you'd like to share? No, I don't have any secrets. Let's see, single or double opt-in. That can mean a couple things. Are you saying single or double opt-in as in like opt-in once and then you're okay and then opt-in again, or opt-in with two different pieces of information? I don't understand that question, so maybe you can ask that. Do you have to get many profiles and secret IPs to scale gray hat, black hat offers of Facebook as possible regular business manager? There's a few answers to that. Do you have to have many profiles? Well, you don't have to have many profiles. What you have to have is, on the black hat world, you have to have accounts. And so, you know, wherever you want to get your accounts, there's only one way to get them. So you can kind of figure out where you need to go with that. But on a gray hat, a lot of the gray hat stuff, I would say, is more, if you start looking at your lander and what you're doing, it's more what you're doing than, or it's more how you're doing it than what you're doing as to why you keep going down. You know, we go over in depth the terms and conditions on Facebook so you understand what Facebook's looking at and the policies between prohibited and restricted ad materials. And when you start looking at the lander language and sentiment of words and different, we go over words that are on the do not use list, you can start figuring out why you might be potentially getting banned. One of the things also is the tracking capabilities of Facebook. You know, Facebook tracks images. You know, so I mean, if you're ripping an image or using the same image and then you make a new account, Facebook tracked it and they know it. You know, that you can learn a lot of that by what they're doing to get rid of some bad actors on the platform. When I say bad actors, I mean people who are, you know, doing really disseminating hate speech and just real shady ass people. Problem is we're getting lumped into them. You know, the gray hat world, the CPA world, we're getting lumped into it and falling victim to the algorithms. And that's really what this game has all become. It's a battle of the algorithm. And I was reading an article right before I came on here where it said that Facebook was having a massive issue on COVID-19 rejections and people who were legit COVID-19 posting and things like that. And it announced that it had sent home, for public health reasons, all contract workers who perform content review services on the social media. The employees could not work from home due to privacy concerns, resulting in zero human oversight for content removal. So that means that it is just like on autopilot with the algorithm. So two things, if you know that going into it and you know how to get around it, it's Merry Christmas, right? Because a lot of things that allegedly are run would not pass a manual review, but they will pass an algorithmic review. And if you can do that, you can stay up for a long time. The bad news is if you keep making the same mistakes, you're going to keep making the same mistakes, and the Facebook thing is going to ban. The bot's going to ban you. And we go into that. We go into some of the things to look at in terms of ways to test it, so you can find out if it's you who's getting banned, if it's your URL is getting banned, if it's your ad getting banned, your fan page getting banned. All those things are going to play into it, and each one of them are going to have a different strategy. And we go through it, and I show you how to find it, so you can figure out which one of yours is happening. And then on the flip side, also because of this last 4 months of just repeated bans, I've developed some really good, solid appeal scripts that I use, and people that work with me use, that allow you to just insert your account number and stuff, and it just is just bulletproof and has, you know, I mean, at least a 75% reinstatement process. I mean, approval rating, at least. I mean, I'm seeing business managers get back. I'm seeing ad accounts get back. So it's a matter of, you know, what are you saying in the appeal? So you put all those together, and you can stay up longer. If you can avoid the potholes and the mistakes, you can appeal to get better, and then you can, you know, use some strategies on how you can get one thing, like get your business manager verified. Getting your business manager verified tells Facebook that, hey, I'm a legit business. So it kind of puts you into a different scale. And I show you how to get your business verified easily. You really get any business manager verified. But things like that. So I mean, that's the biggest thing that I've seen the last 60 to 90 days with people, probably 120 days, is that people don't know that Facebook is tracking them, and how much they are tracking them. So I mean, that would be a big thing and I start telling people that you're using the same image over and again, or you scrape that off of the Google and somebody else got banned on it, or your URL, the age, how old is your URL? Oh, I just bought that domain yesterday. Okay. If you run a domain that's less than 10 days old, you're automatically going to get reviewed, because who does that, right? If you're the algorithm and you're trying to find bad actors and people who are going around the system and cloaking and black hat, well, they're gonna find patterns. And what's one of the patterns? You buy a new domain and you run the next day. Well, do pizza shop owners do that? Do e-commerce shops do that? Nobody does that but black hat guys. So there's ways around that. And it's not a complete 100%, but I mean, you start putting all these things together where, I'm talking to guys who said, hey, I was running an e-commerce, and I know it wasn't anything shady, but it got banned, and then I made a new URL and it got banned again. Well, I mean, and then it starts going into a lot more to that. But those are some of the things that we'll go over and cover in terms of why you keep getting banned. So to ask you that process thing, you can stay up with Gray Hat. Even some, not approved things can stay up if you know how to do it right. So let me see. Currently, our Quizlanders press page is still allowed as part of your present funnel clipping offers. It's funny, Quizlanders were the belle of the ball for a long time. This past summer, they were huge, and it's funny. There were a couple people who were championing those, and I kind of laugh at QuizFunnels because I know a few people who I worked with on them, and then all of a sudden they became this thing. QuizFunnels still can work. It just depends on how you have it set up. And the nice thing about QuizFunnels is you don't have to, you can be simple, you can get people engaged, and then you can go down the lane and you can start dropping stuff. Again, you have to be careful on what's on the URL string and the domains and Facebook, the bot that tracks it. And so there's a lot more, it's what you're doing, or it's how you're doing, not what you're doing with QuizFunnel landers. They were really associated with all the diet products that were out there, and Facebook just can't stand diet because of their body shaming and all that kind of stuff. I would look at it as they were a big thing. I think it's kind of a fad. Now what's really working is webinars for information and things like that. But for, diet, it went the way of advertorials, really. Started becoming the big thing. Okay, I'm having trouble running a conversion campaign. I keep getting banned before I get any traffic. Do I need to warn my fan page before well, yeah, there's a lot of things right there. I mean, I kind of touched on it before. There's an entire process. The minute you get banned, you have to stop. Because, excuse me, you have to really take a hard look at everything you're doing. And there's, again, I told you they're tracking you. So there's this, you need to start looking at everything you're doing and assuming you're being tracked, and go through it. And there's some sites that Facebook has. You can see the health of your fan page. You can see the health of your profile. You can see a lot of that stuff. And we can go through all that. It's a lot to cover, but it's a whole section on what to do when you're banned, and how to avoid being banned, but when you are banned, what to do afterwards, about how to get back up. Because I tell you right now, if you're banned today and you do the exact same thing, you're going to get banned tomorrow. So you really have to change what you're doing. What are the best type of affiliate offers to promote on Facebook these days? You ask any affiliate manager, they'll say, it's auto, it's life insurance, it's what are the other hot ones? The regular stuff, you know what I mean? There's no like, it's the perpetual things that just don't go down. Information right now is working out really well. Again, life insurance and auto are just like perennials. Like I think solar is going to be huge. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. I think what you're going to find is solar is pretty big anyway. But after this coronavirus thing ends, you're going to find a lot of the people who are okay. So if you take a slice of the whole population, look at preppers. What are they? 5% of the population. 50% of the people think they're crazy, right? And then that's 50%. And then the other 50% don't think they're crazy. They just think they're not needed, right? So then now you're left, that's 45. then 5% of the preppers. Now you have 40% of the population who don't think they're crazy, but think, eh. So I think a good amount of those people now are scared enough to say, man, if this happened with coronavirus, what's next? And I think one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to put solar panels on their house, just in case, not for the eco, not for the environment, but because if, you know, shit hits the fan and the grid goes down, I think there are going to be a lot of people who are going to want to have their protection. I'm tracking a lot of prepper YouTube channels, and their subscription rates have gone through the roof, which, you know, is obviously makes sense. But I think that, you know, I'm not advocating go out there and sell prepper food, right? But I mean, some of the ancillary things that are in line with a prepper mentality, like solar, I think are going to be huge this summer. I think they're going to be massive. So, I mean, I would definitely look into some of that kind of stuff. And again, when you get into an affiliate manager, that's one of the things we go over too, is how to ask what's hot, what's working, what's not, you know, and ask the question so you can get a real answer versus what you want to avoid is just getting something that they want to sell, right? So I mean, sometimes it's just offers that they get paid more on. I mean, you got to look. They're used car salesmen. They're nice people, but you know, they're just in it to make a buck. So don't take everything they say to heart. Take it with a grain of salt. Understand how to negotiate with them, talk with them, the whole thing like that. You really have to do that. Okay, is it better to go broad or very specific to increase conversions? Well, the absolute best thing you can do to increase your conversions is make a lookalike audience off your conversions. You know, that's what I would do. I would come in, first thing I do when I take in a large client is I upload their customer list and I make a 1% lookalike audience of their best customers. And then I do a lifetime value if I can, which allows them to do the lifetime value of the customer in terms of how much they bought to prioritize it. Now, if you don't have a customer list, you do have a pixel, and you can do a lookalike audience based off your pixel. So one of the absolute first things you should be doing when you start out a new campaign, or if you get off this webinar and you go to your campaign, just go in your audiences and check out what your audience is. I mean, you should be having web page views for 30 days, add to carts for 30 days, leads for 30 days. You know, you should start building a conversion funnel on your website so you can track these things and then make audiences for it. And start. I bet you if you look to your audiences though, or whatever, I bet you're not excluding prior website traffic, right? So you have a broad interest. So you're going after fitness, and you're doing it. One of the things you're not doing is you're not excluding your 30-day website traffic, right? Because you should be having a cold funnel, and if you're having a cold funnel, you don't want website traffic because they're in your retargeting bucket, right? So what you need to do is go in and make a cold funnel, which truly is a cold funnel. So then exclude all your likes, exclude all your people who have been to your website, and do a true cold funnel. Then on the side, do a retargeting funnel. But I mean, just that basic thing is something that that's how you start increasing your conversions, by thinking about it like that. How do you get around Facebook accounts being shut down often? Well, I kind of addressed that back in the ways. A lot of it is not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. Now, granted, if you're trying to run something that's blatantly, you know, you can't sell guns on Facebook, and you can't sell CBD, and you can't sell, you know, ketone stuff. But there's ways around it in terms of softening your language. Or I'm going to take this as like somebody's running something that's gray hat and they keep getting shut down. There's a lot that we go into on that, because I have I've done a ton of it in the last, 6 months, forced. I was running Easy Street white hat all last summer. Didn't have to do anything. I was just, counting the leads, and then Facebook shut things down. So I had to figure out why, because I wasn't doing anything to violate it. But then I started to realize I was falling into the same bucket. So there's a lot of things that we'll go over about that. But the first thing is start looking at, again, it's not what you're doing. Stop looking at what you're doing. It's how you're doing it. That's the biggest thing you need to do. How do you and Greg spend more than 15 per day on CPA offers? Business BMs get shut down faster at around 10K per day. Okay, well, one of the things, that's true, right? Because what happens at 10K per day? What's 10K per day times 30? That's a $300,000 account, right? Now you start getting attention. So now you're going to start getting more manual reviews. So now that can be good for you, it can be bad for you. So you need to start looking at what you're doing. The other thing is, one potential you could get around it is, instead of having one $10,000 account, have 3 or 4 $2,000 accounts, right? Lower that cap. Try and stay away from a threshold that gets you a manual review. If you're running gray hat, that's marginal. If not, it's just a bot thing, and then that's how you're operating, and why they're getting shut down. You shouldn't be getting shut down that fast, unless you're doing black hat and cloaking, and then that's just the name of the game. But if you're running gray hat, It's just going to be a matter of how you're running it. And there's we can look at that stuff, and there's markers and all sorts of things we can start going through to fix that. Is there a way to run dating offers nowadays? Absolutely. Dating is restricted. It's not prohibited. So restricted, we'd go through this. Restricted means that you can do it. You have to follow their guidelines. And one of the ways to doing it is you have to apply. And you have to apply through Facebook to run a dating app. You don't have to own the dating app. You just have to apply for it. And then once you get approval, you can do it. And then the other way would be, don't go so overt, and try and get some other kind of a gray hat way of doing it. But yeah, you can absolutely run dating offers. Is it best to get new ad accounts from family or friend members in the same state or county? How do I go about getting new accounts where I can buy them if needed and do not need the same state? Well, I would, on this webinar, I'll say those two things that you just mentioned violate Facebook's terms and conditions. You're not supposed to be doing that. So that's not something I'd want to go into. There are answers to that question. So I would gladly offline go through it. And that's something we would cover. But for this purposes, I'm going to have to say stick to the guidelines. How to start MMO BizOp offers on Facebook. Again, that's just we kind of touched on it. It's a strategy. It's about building your audience, identifying your audiences, targeting your audiences, building your funnel. The ad types, again, we went through like what kind of ad types. So again, we're going to, start with conversion, and then it'll be the lander you're going to. What are you doing? Like I said, webinars are working really well. So I would go through the webinar, and I would start retargeting people who watched the webinar, and start it that. Now I would say, that's a tough question, right? I mean, I'm not trying to dodge it, but there's a lot to it. It's not like an e-commerce, right? I mean, there's a lot of funnel and strategy you need to be, because again, you need to stand up. Like I would say that one thing with that is that financial products, right? Facebook has financial products on the restricted list. You can do it, but they kind of watch it, so they immediately lump you into the bad basket. So you're gonna want to have an in-depth knowledge about what they assume and what they term and deem to be bad, so you cannot avoid it, right? I would never just have somebody say, I appreciate the question, I understand it, but I would never want like a 3-minute answer on that. You should have 2 or 3 days of understanding why and what and how. So by the end of it, it totally makes sense as to what you're doing. Otherwise, you're really just setting yourself up to get shut down and banned, because you're going to make some easily avoided mistakes on it. Same thing with this, yeah, CPL offers and BizOp niche. I mean, that again, it's not really the kind of thing to do on a webinar like this. You want to have some background on it so that you really understand what it is. There's no quick, easy answer. There are answers. There's strategies. There's tactics. There's techniques onto it. There's things I can tell you all about it, and I have no problem doing that. But it's not something I can do in 5 minutes because of the ban issue. You're really going to want to have your ducks in a row with that. All right, so when starting a new ad account, should I just go with starting a conversion campaign or creating an engagement campaign to warm up the account? Well, I'm assuming that you're saying that because like you're a gray hat or something's getting banned. I would again go back to what I said earlier. You want to avoid the bot, right? The AI, the artificial intelligence, and patterns. So what do new accounts? What's a black hat new account do? Because they know they only have 3 days to stay up. They immediately go into a conversion ad, right? For $300 or whatever. So if you're trying to warm up an account, the whole phrase of it is warm up the account, right? So I would absolutely not do a conversion ad. Not to mention what you want to do when you're running a new ad and a new account, a new fan page, a new domain, is you want to be able to test it to make sure that each part of that is going to be approved by Facebook without any issue. So then if you find an issue, if you just run a conversion ad right away and your account goes down, well, okay, why? I don't know. Is it the creative? Is it the domain? Is it the fan page? Is it you? Is it your business manager? Is it the ad account itself? Right? There's so many. Is it the targeting? There's so many variables there that you can't fix or you can't correct it. So I have a whole thing on warming up accounts where I go through it step by step so that you can isolate each individual thing, and then you go step 1, this passed. Okay, cool. Step 2, this passed. Step 3, this passed. Step 4, conversion ad. And then that way there, you know that along the way, each step of the way, you can look back and figure out if you got a 28 warning or you got a rejected ad, you can isolate why, and then you can correct it. So you absolutely have to warm up accounts. Do not go with a conversion campaign. Engagements are the same as likes. Engagements are anything that's on platform has no bearing in the reality to Facebook. So you could spend $10,000 on a like campaign, run one conversion ad, and get your account shut down, right? So they don't, in practical purposes, warm up your account. There are some things to getting a billing history, some of those benefits. But don't think that if I spend X amount of dollars on a like campaign or engagement ad, my account's warmed up and I'm never going to go down. That's not true. It's the only thing a like campaign and engagement do is it's a low cost way of getting billing without going to an external source. So you can use it, and we do use it, and there's strategies to it, but it's only for a specific purpose and not necessarily the complete warm up. All right, so. Greg, I think I answered all the questions. That's in the Q&A. I didn't go through any of the chat or anything like that. Have you been looking at that?
Yeah.
What do we got?
Let me see here. Actually, one of them is the same thing you already answered. I think these people, I think they asked them on both places, so I think we're good.
Okay.
Here's one right here. Let me see. Let's see. I'll be on request. I'll be in class next week. It was mentioned that you would help with an offer if we're currently running a campaign. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I did say that basically we want you to bring an offer to the workshop so that you can work on it, during the workshop. But I did say, like, if you don't have one currently, that I would help you. I will, work with you to help you come up with one. So I'm going to work with you. Me and my team will work with you so that you can have, have a campaign to work on by the time the workshop comes around.
Yeah, we could introduce you to an affiliate or something. We'll get you one. But I mean, yeah, it's easier if you already have one because then we can start answering some questions right off the bat. But yeah, don't let that be a roadblock too. But it seems like the biggest question theme is keeping an account up, which it's not like it's so. If I'm looking at this coming into this, last 30 minutes and reading questions. It's not like we have e-commerce guys in here who are trying to do it. Sounds like gray hat guys trying to play by the rules and getting shut down. So, that's going to be a huge part of what we're going to talk about. Again, and it's going to be hours of it. I mean, this is a long thing. It's going to be a lot of time with me and you going through it. And again, I've had a lot of success in keeping things up. Almost everything I had went down in September because I was just running willy-nilly white hat, loving life. Everything went down. And I had to recover and readjust. And that's one of the reasons why you see the guys from last year running all their keto offers. None of them are running now because they couldn't readjust. Start looking at that stuff. Look who's out there. People you never heard of weren't around last year. Nobody's talking about for the last 8 months I've had success. It's always last 30 days or something like that, So, I mean, there's a reason for it. It's because they all went down. Those tricks they learned didn't work when Facebook shut them down. Okay, so would this course involve posting material from my own personal Facebook account for people? No. It's private stuff. So one of the things is you may have a niche that is working for you. So it's going to be, side chat specific stuff. I'll ask if there's anybody out there who wants to volunteer. If you're doing auto or something that's super obvious, there's no real reason. But if you have some crazy niche, I can absolutely help you on a respect your privacy basis. And everybody coming here, we'll have NDAs, but it's going to be a good group. The nice thing about this is working with Greg is that he knows pretty much everybody or a lot of the people. So we're going to get some good guys, and it won't be specific. I won't share anything. It's all going to be theory and stuff like that. Having the work marketer in a domain, for example, can be a bad signal for Facebook. Digitalmarketer.com is a big brand, so maybe not bad at all. Well, that's not true. Digital marketer is also age domain, right? I mean, how long has it been there? What's its trust score? What's its relevancy score? Who are they? What's their fan page? So there's a lot that goes into it. If you just created thebestmarketer.com, it's not the word. What word would do it would be sellcannabis.com would get flagged. That kind of stuff. Buy guns online. The word marketer is not flagged. If you had I wouldn't have your domain say make money at home because that's, Facebook doesn't like multi-level marketing. But I think it's a little bit more subtle than that. Digital marketers has a bigger presence. So there's some of the things that you can get around some of those terms. and you know, you can do .club. You know, don't be afraid of .club. Nowadays people don't care what your domain extension is. Okay, so I think, is that pretty much all the questions here? Oh shoot, I didn't scroll down. I guess there's more. Okay, hold on. Your class next week mentioned that you would help offer. Oh, okay, I think we answered that one. Cool, good thing. Oh, that's cool that you're going to be there, Sean. What's the best way of particular sequence to launch successful conversion affiliate campaigns without risk getting? All right, absolutely. We just went through that. We're going to go through that. It's not like a 30-second thing. It's not like I'm trying to dodge it for, hey, come to the course. I just want to give you a lot of information because there's a lot of moving pieces. I kind of say it's like a piano, right? There's 87 pieces of keys on a piano. They don't move. There's a lot of them, but they don't move. So you can kind of figure out each one. So there's a multitude of things you need to look at for me to answer that question and how to do it to get you the most successful way to launch it. So a lot of time is going to be spent on it. And again, I want you to be able to understand the theory of it so that you can do it to 5 or 6 offers and not just the one that I showed you how to do. And then so that there's going to understand how to do it, you know, and I really want to give you real good information. So please give small tips to start promoting an auto bot for Forex. Any auto bot for Forex. I don't really do, Forex is that financial product, right? I never really got into Forex, and I'm not sure what you mean by promoting an auto bot for that. So I'm not sure I can help you on that one. I would say, I mean, a couple of things you can do is, you know, if you can go to fan pages can now post in groups and post on fan pages. So potentially you could go in there and drop something, you know, there's a couple of different ways you can do that on the cheap, but I'm not sure. I don't understand the question, so I can't really give a good answer to that one. All right. I think coming up on close to an hour on that, right, Greg? So how are we doing?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think you got through most of the questions there, so I think we're good. I'm gonna copy this. I had my freaking forwarding domain wasn't working, so I got that.
Yeah, and if you have if you hear this and then you have a specific question, like something that you really want answered, you know, absolutely reach out to Greg, and I can get you an answer. Some of the things are a little easier to answer offline than they are on a broadcast webinar as well. But you know, happy to answer the question. I think it'll be good. You know, I've done a few of these in person, so to do it, I think it's a good experience. Usually, you know, it's a lot of information and you learn a lot.
All right, sounds good. Hey guys, I appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, the forwarding domain I had up there wasn't working for some reason. So to find out about the workshop, more details, you can go to that. I put it in the chat, but it's tmarket.live/Facebook-domination-1. So you can go there, list all of the many things that Mr. Wizards is going to cover. And, you know, it has the prices and links to buy the tickets and all that kind of stuff. So just want to say, you know, and I actually took his, you know, his workshop that he, you know, teaches in person. He made me pay for it. So he made me pay for it.
Some free rides, man.
So I'm just telling you. So, you know, I paid for it.
That's a true story, too. We're not just bullshitting you.
So, but it was worth every penny. It really was. So this guy, he's a real deal. You know, as you can see, so, you know, if you can make it, you know, head over there, get your ticket. Have any other questions, you can shoot me an email, and we can make it happen. Thanks a lot, everybody. You guys stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. See you soon, guys. Thanks.